suddenly changed pace through the centre. It's Bergkamp. That's magnificent. The move, and then this, which left Dabby's ass totally stranded.
Hello, and welcome to a Bergkamp Wonderland. We are an Arsenal podcast, sadly. My name is Kris, I'm your host, and tonight, if you tune into this show for highbrow... Who am I kidding? Nobody tunes into this show for highbrow entertainment. But if you tune into this show looking for positives and happy, fluffy bunnies and butterflies, I would just probably click subscribe and like the video, because you have to do that. That's the law. But after that, I'll just go, because this is going to be quite a miserable, moany, stress-filled podcast. I'm just going to warn you in advance. All right? So now we've got that out of the way, I need two people to moan with me. So that sounds a bit wrong. But anyway, first and foremost, welcome back, Josh. How are you, sir?
I am free from moan. Don't you worry. I am going to be the light to your dark, or the wind beneath your wings, something like that. Who knows what I'll be? But either way, we'll get you moaning.
That's an even worse image. Thanks for that. Carl, lift the tone somehow. Can we lift the tone in any way, shape, or form somehow, please?
I will be the dark meat between the sandwich that is Kris and Josh.
Oh my God. As soon as you said meat and sandwich, I immediately thought of Danny in the bath again. It's like I can't get that. I can't rid myself of that horrid image. And even though he's
I
not
can
here,
only think how terrible your meal deals must be if you now cannot look at a meat-based sandwich.
I can't. Tesco's never been the same since. It's just like PTSD of Danny every time.
I mean, as we're going to talk about irreverent banter before we get there, I'm going to continue to put my hipster flag in the meal deal mountain that is Boots does the best meal deal. And you all need to get down to Boots.
It's not a bad shout, actually. Mark's is not bad either.
Triple sandwich. You can get even like a full-size sausage roll, and then an innocent smoothie with that. It's like £5 or £6 on its own, and then they're going, £3.49. Easy.
And who doesn't like a full-size sausage? I mean,
exactly.
You know. Anyway, enough of that. If you want more of that, subscribe at the OnlyFans in the link below. Let's get into it then, shall we? So, to those of you watching and tuning in, thank you first and foremost. You're very welcome to be here, and we love you. We're not really going to cover Brentford because, frankly, that was a long time ago now, and the here and now is obviously last night's game with Man City. And there's quite a lot to talk about with regards to that game. And I wrote out a bit of a script for tonight, and I wrote some notes, and I just threw them away because I was like, you know what, this is pointless. I just want to kind of go raw, emotion-wise, I should stress. So let's just sort of dive in at the deep end. Josh, you said you're going to be the positive light here, so I'll save my statement for after you and Carl have had a chance to say how you feel. So. How do you feel the day after? We've had nearly 24 hours to digest it all. Where's your head at?
I'm immensely disappointed, I think, in certain aspects of the game. But generally, all is not over. I'm not throwing the baby out with the bathwater. We are, second on goal difference with a game in hand. Now, I'd still take that going into the run we've got, performances we've seen prior. My only potential worry is we've seen that it's the first time in a while that when Arsenal lose, they tended to come straight back in. I mean, we haven't had a game like Man City after a loss. Generally, it's always been our difficult fixture, then a slightly easier one. But off the back of Brentford and Everton, that still feels like it still feels like we've had a kind of negative run of results, and a former manager coming up against him again. It's going to be a difficult game, but I think there's still positives to look at the long term. But as I say, I'm by no means happy we lost, but I don't think I'm on the full negative scale of, I suppose I'm tweeting or talking like some of the Instagram posts the players have put out, Martinelli and Saka, in terms of they're probably putting on a brave face, and I'm just putting on, probably, you'll tell me, Kris, a naive face. But we will get into probably the detail of the game, because I still say there's a long way to go with this Arsenal squad, and I don't want to wet anyone else's gunpowder on the points they've got by continuing to talk about it. And Carl, I suppose, do you want to give us your thoughts as well on the game before I pick up and talk about every possible aspect of the game?
I felt like we played the occasion rather than the actual match. I felt like you could tell that there was a message from Arteta, and it was play the Arsenal way, play the Arsenal way, play the Arsenal way. And I felt like we overplayed just a little bit too much. There were times when Ramsdale should have gone long and he kept passing, doing the short pass into the box. And I felt like he was doing that because of this whole play your game, play your own game. You could tell that was the message at halftime: keep playing the way you want to play or the way we want to play, and we'll get at them. And we didn't change it up, and I felt that was a real point. I felt like sometimes we just took too many touches. There's so many chances we could talk about. The Saka one where I don't know why he didn't shoot. He decided to take too many touches in the box, got tackled. The Granit Xhaka one where he literally put, I think it was Rodri or Diaz on his arse, didn't do anything with the ball, and then got tackled. Just like, I just felt there was a nervousness around the Arsenal players, which was annoying, because I truly think Man City were there for the taking. In that first half, we were the best team. We were better than them. We could have beat them, and we didn't. I just felt like, the occasion got to them. I felt like they were a little bit of nerves, and I think once Man City got their rhythm, we couldn't handle them. We couldn't get anywhere near them. They just showed a different level yesterday, and this is something that we've got to learn. There were a number of players who played okay. There are a number of players who didn't play well. Let's be very honest, which we'll talk about later. But I think confidence is key, and I tweeted that yesterday. And we've got to get another win very, very soon. We've not had a win in 3 games, and I feel like we've almost forgotten how to win. So we need to definitely get another win very, very soon, just to get that confidence back and the winning way back.
Yeah, and arguably the fixture we got up next is one of the worst I would pick personally, but we come on to that bit later on. Yeah, I mean, to echo both of your points there, I'm not coming to sit here and rant, because I don't really think it needs that, but there was parts of last night that I just found so naive, so to the point where I felt in the second half we were almost a bit embarrassing. I genuinely feel that way, because we were just there's principles you can have as a manager, and this is Mikel's done some wonderful things. This obsession with playing all the time and showing your what's the word? Help me out here. What's the word? Identity. That's what I'm looking for. And I'm all for that. And yes, we have scored some lovely goals, both under him and Wenger previously, where we played out from the back. But there is a time and a place. There is an opposition and a situation. There's an occasion, as you said, Carl, and then there's a standard game. And although I felt we were probably the better side in the first half last night, I think that was largely because Pep did a Pep and played in a attacking cam at left back, as you do. And as soon as he changed that and worked us out tactically. I just thought we were so poor second half, and nerves. I agree with you, Carl. I think that played a part. But there were so many individual things, which we might come on to in a minute, that I just found really silly. And something that wound me up about our play last night as well was we seem to have this. You know, a few weeks ago when Richard Keys was rubbing his little nub to the point where there was hardly any left over Arteta's antics in the dugout. A lot of people, a lot of ex-pros, and they were saying, "Oh, you know, as a player, would that bother you if Arteta was doing that? If your manager was hopping around on the sideline?" And they all said, "Oh, no, you know, we thrive." I totally disagree, and I feel last night was an example of where our manager, you know, and our coaching staff and everybody around him not being calm, it leaked onto the pitch last night. We were so petulant all the time, asking for Man City players to be booked, constantly playing the victim all the time. And we'll come on to the VAR stuff a little bit later on because it does, like you said, Carl, it does need addressing. But I just felt that we fell into City's hands last night. You know, we were so petulant. And, you know, there's so many things. This is not an Arteta bash because he's done some wonderful things. But however good at your job you are, you can still find, you know, things that can be constructively criticised. And I just thought last night we were so naive. And we showed that we are quite a way behind Man City in you know, at this level. And arguably, sort of, you know, we're ahead of where we should be. I'll expand a bit on some of those things in a minute, but I want to come back to you guys first of all, and let's go back into the game itself.
Yeah, I think, Kris, it felt like we regressed. That's the way I put it.
Yeah.
If you think the performance we put out last night was a performance we used to put out against teams we happily beat. I think Brentford last season, that was the kind of performance we normally put in. So that's where I see the positive. We're beating Brentford this season. We're now the only team that we have lost our complete rhythm and didn't regain it with was arguably the best team in the league. A team that if we'd gone through the league and we'd battered away Man City, we'd have huge delusions of grandeur when it comes to the Champions League next season, thinking it'd be a cakewalk. But it shows the level that this team is at. And when I don't feel like the entire team played the occasion. I think there was a number of critical players that did, though. Obviously, Thomas Partey was a huge miss, but I don't think Jorginho had a bad game. I think he was one of the better players.
No.
I think he was one of the better players in the sense of he did all of the stuff that Partey does instead of the recycling. The thing he didn't do was calm Gabriel down. Gabriel seems to have, or at least when Partey's there, he can trust that if he's in trouble, he'll play it to Thomas Partey. He doesn't have that trust built with Jorginho yet, and they don't have that connection. So I think that's where he truly struggled and was one of those players that we see time and time again plays the occasion. And I think it was almost certainly the reason why he didn't go to the World Cup with Brazil, despite him possibly having one of the best seasons and arguably one of the best Brazilian centre-backs. But because he's got that in his locker, where I think he plays the occasion too many times and becomes that rash player, even though VAR got us out of a pickle with Erling Haaland, I don't think he needed to be in that situation at all. But he does that time and time again. He's again thinking back to centre-backs of yesteryear. Lauren Koscielny, superb centre-back, 85-90% of the season, but then has 10% where he's just not at that right level. I think there are a number of players that overplayed the occasion, and I think we've got to include, as well as Gabriel, including Granit Xhaka in that one. There are a number of opportunities that I think against a lesser side, he plays through balls to Gabriel Martinelli. There were 2 opportunities where he was available on his own. And I think people were slating Martinelli for his performances recently. But there seems to be an issue where he's just not being fed. He's in great positions, opportunities that he could get a shot away, but we're just not feeding him properly. Saka had superb ball through from Jorginho. didn't make the best of it. But you know what? He buried the penalty. And that still tells me that he can be a big game player. And there are still pockets of players there that I think can do it. But they were let down on this occasion by relative senior players in the squad playing the occasion. Again, Zinchenko down at the left back. Superb player. And we definitely know he plays the occasion. If you've ever watched him play for Ukraine, the guy plays the occasion every single time. And 99 times out of 100 gets him through the game. But not on this occasion, because I think there was someone next to him also unable to calm him down. And yeah, I also think with Richard Keys, you say that I think the talk or the extra scrutiny on Arsenal at the moment had caused them to be a bit more wary, a bit less aggressive when it comes to, we're talking about surrounding the referee, encouraging a decision to be made. Man City, if we were playing, say, for example, Saka at left back and Bernardo Silva was roasting him constantly, first tackle goes in, they're surrounding him, getting a yellow card, maybe by the second time. We have to wait for 3 or 4 fouls until that occurs. And that is still that bit of streetwiseness, I think, that needs to come from Arsenal. And again, I saw people moaning that no one helped Arteta out when he was mugging off De Bruyne. And De Bruyne started the thing. Again, no, he was running over. That's the occasion. That's our players actually not playing the occasion. I don't think they're affected by the manager, because another side completely loses their head. But yeah, I think we've just felt like generally we were destabilized by Guardiola's team perfectly in that second half. Remember how scrappy that 15 minutes after the half time was?
No, it's just stoppage after stoppage, wasn't it?
And we didn't have that player that could put the foot on this ball and just go right and take back control of this. We just lost control of it. And that's what the best teams do. They just destabilize you. Same happened with the Everton game. They did it in a different way, and they could punish us for us, whereas Everton, were barely creating chances. But Carl, what did you reckon to the game? And through some of the points.
I think that Gabriel didn't have one of his better games, and I think you're absolutely right. He needs someone with him just to tell him just to chill. And the problem is he's got, Zinchenko, who, let's face it, he's a hothead, so he's definitely not going to be anyone to tell them to calm down. You've got Saliba, who's very young and probably is not that experienced to speak to him that way. So you would have thought maybe Granit, Xhaka, and when players are very good, we praise, and I think that's what we should do, definitely. But when players make mistakes, sometimes we need to highlight them. And I think Gabriel last night made a mistake, and he's got, like you said, he's got it in his locker. And maybe it's time for him to have a little rest. He's played nearly every game. I'm sure he's played nearly every single game we've had this season. Even the Europa League games, didn't he? Because he's the only left-footed one. But hopefully with Kiwior in, hopefully he'll get some games.
He's not going to play league games, so is he?
No, but you're hoping that Kiwior's not only going to play Europa League game, because that would leave him with maybe only 5 games this season. Surely he didn't sign to play 5 games this season. So you never know. That's if left centre back is his position. He could play midfield. We don't know, but I got a feeling that there are some league games that. Well, I don't know, because Arteta doesn't like to change his team at all, does he?
We'll come on to that.
I think that's a downfall of his. But we'll come on to that. But like Josh said, there were definitely times where we overplayed. Zinchenko didn't have a good game at all, and I felt like he was, like when you get dumped by your girlfriend and then you go out and then you see your girlfriend at bowling with your new girlfriend and you try to be a little bit impressive. I felt like that's what he was trying to do. There was a number of times where he lost the ball. I remember he lost the ball right on the edge of our box trying to do some sort of drag back, and I was like, what are you doing? Like any other time, I'm sure you would launch it, but he was just, I think after a while, it was just a bit too casual, and I didn't like that. So,
It felt like
sorry.
I was going to say, it felt like the nerves emanated out from the back, and it's whether or not it would destabilise by Partey not being there. I think some players handled the occasion better than others, though. I think at some point we'll have to talk about Saliba's general performance. I think.
And doesn't that come on to just to expand on that point and the Gabriel point? Doesn't that come on to a bit of a mentality thing? Like maybe we can talk about the Arteta non-rotation here. There's clearly like a trust that he has in certain players. Like he clearly trusts to play Zinchenko no matter how. Personally, like I love Zinchenko, I really do. I think he's been awful for about 3 weeks. I think he's been absolutely terrible. But because he's passionate and we love him, we sort of give him a pass. Kieran Tierney is probably sat there going, "Well, hang on a minute." Like, and now don't get it wrong. I know Zinchenko offers us something different, but I genuinely think Zinchenko's been very poor, probably since that cup game where he got rattled by City. Then there's this argument. The whole Martinelli thing of, oh, he's playing terribly, moronic. All right, people. I hate to be that guy, but just watch football, people. Like, just watch the games. Don't just watch Match of the Day or YouTube or listen to brain dead pundits. Actually, watch the games. And as Josh said, his Martinelli's runs have been very good. He's still working his socks off. He's just going through a patch where he's not scoring every week, like players go in and out of form. Look at what Rashford's doing now compared to what he was doing 6 months ago. It happens, right? But there is this argument that I think Mikel needs to trust some of these other players to come in, and I would have liked to have seen Trossard play last night, whether it been for Martinelli or not. I would like to have seen him come in. I did understand the Tomiyasu one because I think Ben White's another one who, again, love him to bits, but he's been poor for at least a month now. And I think the centre-back is a harder one because I think Gabriel's actually been very good recently. And I think Saliba's been pretty consistent all season, although has maybe been a bit off of it. The last month or so has gone down a little bit. And Demsett made a really good point in the chat as well about Haaland was very clever in this game because he was getting nothing out of Saliba. So he naturally then switched it second half and pulled on to Gabriel. And I think Gabriel, I don't know if Martin Keown's available for coaching, but that's what you want Gabriel to be. You don't want to take that aggressive streak out of him. You don't want to take that ability to go and win the ball away from him, but he needs to channel that anger. He needs to be a bit more streetwise, a few more digs in the ribs, a few more pinches of the nuts, that sort of thing. Wind up players, because Haaland was getting properly pissed off by basically being marked out of the game by Saliba. As soon as he switched, it all changed. But I do think that there's a larger point there about the Arteta situation, in terms of the rotation. And, players like Fabio Vieira, I think we've got a real gem on our hands there. But we haven't got a gem on our hands if we're playing him for 15, 10 minutes at the end of games. He's not that type of player. He needs to play. Granit Xhaka has been brilliant this season. He's running out of steam. You can literally see it. He looks physically drained. He's had a long season. He went to the World Cup. We've got to start rotating players. Speaking of rotation,
do you think there's a naivety on Arteta? Because you're right. He doesn't drop Granit Xhaka, and this is a squad game. So you think, and I don't know if he said it jokingly, but do you remember when he was talking about Saka needing a rest, and he goes, the top professionals have to play 50, 60 games a season, which is bullshit. I'm sorry, it's absolute bullshit. The top professional, you cannot play 50, 60 games a season. But I don't know if he was saying that, one, because he knew he had to play Saka every game because he had no one else to replace him, which he still doesn't at the moment, or if he actually believes that, because surely as a professional himself, he doesn't believe that even as young as 21 years old, Saka cannot play 50, 60 games a season. It's impossible.
It's the David Moyes in him. We'll put it that way. It's as simple as that. I think I mentioned it as soon as Arteta came into it. He is a hybrid. He is not Pep, mini Pep. He has got aspects of other former managers within him, and David Moyes will churn out the same starting 11 irrespective. If a player goes injured and another player comes in, the other player, irrespective of how good they were, say Jared Bowen goes out injured, misses 4 months or a couple of weeks, the player comes in, Jarrod Bowen doesn't come straight back in, irrespective of how good he is for that West Ham side. Again, I imagine the same would be for Declan Rice, that if he's off injured for a bit, Dylan was so loyal to the starting 11. And I think Arteta's taken that same bit. Because if I remember rightly, or right at the beginning of his tenure, when the first 8th position finish we had, Us doesn't even know what his best starting 11 was. And would I prefer a manager that tinkered with the starting lineup every single week, or would I prefer consistency from a winning or a well-performing side? I think I take the latter 9 times out of 10.
You would,
yeah.
But what if that winning team then stops winning? Because I know this is whole play them into form, but when playing them into form doesn't work, and again, you know, we played Everton, which was a freak game. Then we played Brentford, which again VAR robbed us, and then we played arguably the best team in the world, which was Man City. So, you know, that's kind of hard. And like you said, we're away to Aston Villa, lunchtime kickoff, which, let's face it, no one's ever confident of those sort of games, but away to Villa, you know. So do you foresee him sticking with the quote-unquote starting 11 or making a few changes? Because surely he must look at certain things and think, okay, my players have played 3 games in a week, they need rest. Or do you think he is that, like you said, that David Moyes sort of player, David Moyes sort of manager, where he's just going to be like, right, nope, this is my starting 11. If you're tired, man up, we're going to go with this.
I'd put it one way. I don't think the Man City game was the game that you rotate out players. Irrespective, I think you go with your strongest 11 on paper. And I think we did. For Aston Villa, it's a different question. Having looked at one of the pieces The Athletic did last week on average player positions and looking at the diagram from Villa, where are completely devoid of any players playing centrally. I think it's something we saw Emery do basically at Arsenal. It was basically almost asset strip our central midfield for creativity. If you think of all the players he got rid of under his tenure, or kind of Mesut Ozil was a different situation. Fundamentally, was also dropped as well. But we saw Santi, Ramsey, Wilshere, Ozil. It's a lot of creativity not replaced. I'm expecting to see the same at Villa. There'll be a lot of room for creative players to do things there. And I wonder if that's an opportunity that you say, Granit Xhaka, this is an opportunity to rest you. And Fabio Vieira comes in from the start. That's probably the only change I'd make to the starting 11, though. There's nothing else I'd look at tinkering. The other player is Eddie Nketiah, which I think we'll get to as well. The kid looks jaded.
Definitely. And it's not either.
Yeah. No, I suppose it's the other question of what's the appetite of doing something a little bit left field with our striker situation. There's a guy who I saw towards the end of the year that's in our squad play as a striker role against a team that is currently in the relegation zone and basically stink up the joint. So I don't think it's him. And it's the question of, are we ever going to put Martinelli back into the centre?
And let's go into that now, because that's something else that really troubled me last night. Eddie had probably 2 good chances, one in particular. I think the header, I just don't think there's any excuse he has to score. Like, for me, as a centre forward, you just have to score that. But I'm not slagging the guy off, because again, I think he's massively surpassed expectation for where he's been this season. My concern is, and I hate to bring this back to the January window, but I can't avoid it. We were on this podcast, people on Twitter, everything. We were all obsessed with the Caicedo thing. Prior to that, the Douglas Luiz thing, the Mudryk thing. We were all obsessing over a holding midfielder or a winger. And I kept saying it, and I continue to keep saying it. We needed a backup centre forward. But we did, Josh. We just did.
No, sorry,
And
I'm not shaking my head to that. I'm shaking my head to Demsek's comment because it was literally the player I was just talking about who was awful against Southampton.
We were gonna throw hands if you disagree with that. Yeah, I agree with you. But and look, I know there is the argument of, well, who would you get? Blah blah blah. It's if you have to get somebody. You have to go
the question
and
very
get
quickly.
someone.
The hypothetical question.
Yeah.
He started against Barcelona earlier this evening. He was very gettable. And that's about Weghorst.
I mean, when I say
knit together a lineup that we've got.
When I say you've got to get somebody, I wouldn't go that far.
See, I say
he might be able to get on one of the crosses that went into orbit from Zinchenko, who I think was trying to take out Sputnik that he'd seen go overhead.
My thought process is, you've gone in and you've got Jorginho, right? Who, and this is always the argument. This is what people kept throwing at us in January. Well, you can't go out and buy a journeyman striker for only 6 months. He was going to want to play. Blah 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 blah. We've gone and got Jorginho on an 18-month contract. We all know that at the end of the season there'll be a nice little piece on the Arsenal.com website, and he'll go his own way. He'll probably go to MLS or something. So we know that's what's going to happen. At the very long shot, he'll be with us for another year, but that's it. This argument that we let two centre forwards go in Aubameyang and Lacazette, both needed to be moved on. I'm not disputing that, but why on earth did we not have something in the background there? And for those people that are saying, "Oh, we've got Balogun out on loan," Balogun needed to be where he is. He's not in this conversation. He needed to go where he was. He's having a great time. No issue there. But there were other options that you could have gone and got in the January window that would have at least, even if you went to, and okay, forgive me, I'm going to go French because that's what I do. But someone like Andy Delors went from Nice to Nantes. Now he failed at Wigan, so I'm not saying he's the right one. But a player like that he'd fall over himself to come to Arsenal. Absolutely fall over himself. And even if you said to him, look, you're only realistically going to get the bench and Europa games, kind of what Everton did with Neil Maupay. Now, that hasn't worked out very well because A, he's a cunt and B, he's shit. But that sort of player, even that the Championship, Josh, I bet you could name me 4 or 5 strikers, not Chuba Akpom, who would probably do a decent job with Arsenal right now. And I just feel that we've missed that gap, we missed that because now what we're doing, and I think a few podcasts, and we said this a few weeks ago, all of our eggs are in the Eddie Nketiah basket. And that's bad for 3 reasons. 1, you're burning out the player. 2, he can't afford to go on a streak where he isn't scoring the goals like he should have got the header last night. And 3, you've got a player who knows he has no pressure. He's going to play no matter what. And Gabriel Jesus, even if he comes, I don't think we'll see him again this season for the record. I said that when he got injured. I'm standing by it. Even if we get him back in April, it's too late then because the title's probably gone by then if we carry on playing the way we are.
I think what I see from it is, I agree in terms of if Eddie isn't scoring, a bit like when Jesus wasn't scoring, you've got to rack up the assists. That's what you've got to do in that position. And I think we've shown that we've got firepower in the 3 behind the striker. I mean, they were our top scorers, and I think they probably still are in the first 3 positions. That's where you don't need to bring in, or as you say, you can bring in a journeyman striker there, even if it's just for 6 months. That's not affecting Balogun's loan. Hell, even 18 months isn't affecting what you're going to do with Balogun. It's just having an option there. And even if it was somebody just to take 20 minutes here and there at the end of a game, just to allow Eddie some time to freshen up. Because I think, well, we saw it, that Eddie can score headers. He scored those headers against top sides. It was just something about last night that he couldn't. And it's not only down to performance. Yeah. One was a bit out of time. We still saw he was still hungry to get into the right positions. But I think sometimes you've, as a manager, got to give the other side, the other team, different problems. That's why we brought in Trossard. He is a different problem to Martinelli. And I think the Jorginho bit of business was an excellent piece of business for what we then wanted to achieve after they probably listened to me. I don't think anyone listened to Andy Naylor. I think he was too busy crying or doing something weird.
That guy.
When I'd said there is zero chance of Caicedo moving in this window, and moved on to another option. And I think it was a smart, safe option, was getting Jorginho in. And we didn't do that for striker. Now, whether or not that's because we spent too long barking up the wrong tree, I don't know. But
look at what Man City have got in Alvarez. I mean, you know, you say in the words journeyman striker, and I've used those words as well. We didn't have to go that route. We just needed to go somebody who was, you know, Yaya Sanogo, but not Yaya Sanogo. You could go down that route. Somebody who's young, you know, but offers a physical presence, something different. You know, why have Cozy Dewberry on the bench every single week if you're just not going to, you know? I'm not saying that he's the answer. I'm not saying that at all. But what's the point in having him on the bench if there's absolutely no point, you know, not ever going to throw him on with 20 minutes to go? What was the worst that could happen in that scenario? And it speaks to the. It's almost like we however much we've progressed, and we have progressed, we have to keep the positives. We have progressed massively. We're let's not forget, we were started the season looking for top four. We're talking like we're being relegated. We're still very much in this race, but we're once again ripping a plaster off and putting another plaster over the top by going, oh yeah, but Martinelli could play at centre forward. Well, he's bloody never played centre forward for us in his life, realistically. Oh, Smith Rowe can play as a false nine. No, just get me a 9. You know, if I want opal fruits, I'm not going to buy fruit gums. Like, just get what you actually need and stop trying to force players to play different roles. You know, we bought Zinchenko to play as left back because he can play midfield. Just play him as a fucking left back. Like, you know, it's this obsession with trying to reinvent the wheel. And that's what bothers me. Can I throw another subject at you, Carl? Because I wanted to pick up on something that came up in the chat, which was a while back now. Sky, he mentioned about the Saka thing. So I've got a view which might not be popular on this, but the rotational fouling thing is consistently kicked. And it's ironic, actually, that Jack Grealish used to get this treatment when he was at Villa and now doesn't get it as much unless he plays at Spurs for Man City. But where do you stand on it? Because I love Saka more than most people, and probably as much as you do. I think we're starting to get a little bit of whataboutery. I think we're starting to protest. We doth protest too much on this one, because he went down at one point yesterday when it wasn't a foul. And I feel like referees are almost playing on the fact now that we moaned about it. Do you see it that way as well, or do you think that? How do we?
Two things, Chris. You're breaking up a little bit. Might check your connection.
Sorry.
So I think we're getting to the point now. I don't ever want Saka to be like Grealish, where every single foul, every single time he gets tackled is a foul. You know, there are times then where, you know, he gets rotationally fouled. Yesterday was an absolute joke. So how many times did Silva foul him? I think it was 4 fouls before he got a yellow card. And you saw the referee like say, that's your 4th one. And you're like, how many times why do you need 4 fouls to get a yellow card? But we move. Does Saka go down easily sometimes? Yes. Does Saka go down when he's tackled and doesn't get anything? Yes. Where's the balance? There's no healthy balance, unfortunately. You know, and this is sadly just football. Jack Grealish will get tackled and he'll like just go down easily. He buys free kicks. That is one of his main roles in that Man City squad, is to buy free kicks, to go down easily, to get the ball, drive, and when you feel contact, go down. I'm sure that's what happens in training. That's what he gets told to do. Get the ball and just run. And then as soon as you feel that contact, go down. So, you know, I'm an Arsenal fan, so I'm going to say protect Saka at all costs. That's what I'm going to do. There are times when I do want him to stay on his feet, be a bit stronger. Yes, but he's 21 years old. It will be trained out of him. Do you remember when Ronaldo first come to Man United and he used to go down like the wind would blow him over. And then obviously, I think Ferguson obviously got into him and said, you're good enough to go past players. Don't go down so easily. And he didn't. There was a time when, do you remember, when did they win the title? Was it 07-08? When he scored like 40 odd goals in the season? I can't remember. Like, he was magnificent and he didn't go down easily that season. So, he had a bit of tactical nous about him. He started to believe how good he was. And hopefully that's what happened that's what will happen with Saka. So, I'm just hoping that he will grow out of it. But, he does get kicked a lot, Kris. He gets kicked so many times. And, I'm sure after a while, when you get kicked all the time, any kind of tackle feels like you're going to get fouled and you just go down because you possibly know that you're not going to get it. So hopefully, things like this will grow out of his game and he'll be a bit more protected, because I think we need it, because someone's going to do him a really bad injury one day and then people are then going to start, it's going to be too late. People are going to start saying, oh, what about protection? I'll still go back to that Crystal Palace game. I think it was 2 seasons ago where I can't remember what player, he's just kicked him in the leg and nothing happened. Not a single thing happened. So yeah, he needs to man up, but again, it was like a oxymoron, but he needs to be protected by the referees, because if he does get injured by a horror tackle, I don't want to see another Diaby happen to him. So yeah, that's what my thoughts are.
I think the big thing with me for Saka, the protection we brought in is that one-on-one coach, the guy that is there to help them dribble past players, is avoid the contact by being smarter, being more fleet of foot. That's how you get past them, because the defender's not going to get any quicker. They're not going to get better at tackling, especially as the better Saka gets. That was the difference with Ronaldo. It wasn't just that he stopped going over. It was the fact he was then quicker to ride those challenges. And that's what we need from Saka. I think it's the same that we've noticed with Martinelli as well, that Martinelli's not going over, but he's also not being able to get past a man properly. That's where I think there is real criticism of his game right now, is he's lost that ability. Now, whether or not it's because Jesus is missing, I think there was a real connection between those two where they were dragging defenders each way of that to basically create space for each other. And I feel like we won't see that change this season. We might see it towards the end. Yeah, we've still got a couple of months left of the season where you may see some of the things that they're learning in training on a one-to-one basis make it out onto the field. But otherwise, I think it is one that we'll see next season, where suddenly the players are not, I would say, more skillful, but not in a showy offy kind of way, just in they're quicker with their feet. And that's where I think the real difference will be. And yeah, I don't expect us to get any additional protection. There will still be a player out there who will put in a terrible tackle at some point. And there's nothing we can do to mitigate that. You can't tell the opposing side not to tackle. In the same way, you can't tell us to not tackle their really important star striker, or vice versa. It's just going to happen. I mean, Neymar's got through his career extraordinarily well without breaking a leg. So it can be done, but it's all about, I think, just being able to be quick of mind and quick of feet.
I think that's that you made a good point there about Neymar, because that's actually one of the examples that I use in that when I say it's important that we distinguish between the two things here. I'm not saying that Saka's a diver. I'm not saying that he's fake. He is clearly targeted. Like, I'm not disputing that. And as an Arsenal fan, I'm always going to say that we need more protection for our better players. What I am saying, though, is that to use the case, Neymar's probably a bit high end of the spectrum because he's so bad at it. But some of the tackles Neymar takes are absolutely fucking horrendous. And the reason he throws himself around like no tomorrow is because he's trying to avoid the contact, because players can't live with the level of skill he's got. Now, is he a bit of a bell end? Yes. Does he throw himself to the floor? Yes. Does he periodically wind up the opposition and therefore, invite some of the contact? Absolutely. But that doesn't mean it's okay to smash him in the back of the Achilles or at knee height every week, which is what happens in France. So I think with Saka, I think you've almost just got to be, dare I say it, you've got to be a bit more pep about it. And when we mentioned about the difference in the managers last night, when the camera cut to Pep on a couple of occasions last night, to me, it was really noticeable that there was two emotions that he had on his face last night. One was pure boredom, and the other was frustration. I felt like, but he never looked like he didn't know what was coming. Like, he always looked very relaxed. And aside from the fact he is still a massive bold fraud, I just felt that he knows that team that he puts on that field will win games. He just does. And ironically, I think if we do end up winning this title, contrary to what all the media have been saying for the past 2 weeks, because they've got to write a narrative, I don't think it will come down to these two games against Man City between Arsenal and Man City, because I think this Man City team, did you see him against Villa last weekend, either of you?
Yeah.
They were 3-0.
Yeah.
3-0 up and absolutely cruising. And the second half, they were bloody abysmal. Villa could easily have got 3-3 out of that. And they're the sort of games I think Man City are liable to just, they go into pep mode where they're like, nah, it's fine, whatever. They just, they sit in their seat like, yeah, whatever, football. And I think they're the sort of games that we might actually pull the points over them if we can get back on a winning run, of course.
I'd like to also point out, look at the results they got from the equivalent fixtures in our last two games as well. Yes, they got an additional point from it, but look at the Everton side they played versus the Everton side we played. We played a Sean Dyche Everton side. They got a 1-1 against Frank fucking Lampard. And they were at home.
As well?
They did lose Southampton in the Cup.
Oh, yeah. Of course,
Yeah. But that City team isn't suddenly, I don't think, going to turn into that side that we've seen post-Christmas in other seasons past, where suddenly they go on a run of 17 straight wins. That's not how this City is built. And I think it was maybe the first tweet I put out post-game. This title will come down to 5 points. No more. I can't see it being much closer than that. One way or the other, there'll be less than 2 games in it. It really will go down to that final game, and the Premier League will bloody love it because it's scheduled pretty nicely.
Yeah, I agree. I just want to reverse back to the little mini rant I had at the beginning. Carl, what do you make of this? Because you're of the three of us, you go to more games than the three of us. This playing out from the back thing, I don't want to go full Peter Kay on this of it, but would you quite like to see us just get the fuck rid of it sometimes? This obsession with, as I say, I'm all for playing out. I'm all for playing football. It's been so much nicer on the eye this season than when we first, when Mikel first came in and we had that shambles of a squad, etc. But there were times last night where I almost felt like Mikel was so obsessed with saying, look, Pep, we can do this too. We can do this too. And I know it's got, some people have said, actually, no, it's brilliant that we stick to our principles and we do this. I just felt last night we were just inviting pressure. I'm not saying lump it every time, but there is such thing as getting rid of it with a purpose. You can still hit the wings. You can still get out. You can still transition out. I just felt last night we're just massively overplaying it. And it's not going to cost us against Man City. It will cost us against Man City. It might cost us in other games as well if teams start to pick up on it.
Yeah, I think Ramsdale made, maybe 2 or 3 really big errors where he should have just hit it long, and he kept sticking by this, I'm going to play it out. Man City hit it long more times than we did. They just got rid of it. And I think against Man City, when they are a pressing machine, when we could not get out, there are certain times where you have to be wise and think, okay, I'm just going to get rid of this. And that just may be the naivety in the Arsenal squad. Again, like I was saying to you, there was this whole ethos of play the Arsenal way, play our way. And I think that was stuck to a bit too rigidly. And there are times when Ramsdale had the ball, when he put the ball down and he wanted to pass the ball to Gabriel. And like we said, Gabriel didn't have the best of games. And he's passing to Zinchenko. Zinchenko would do a stupidness on the box. And then Man City would press and get the ball back. It happened maybe 2 or 3 times. And for me, you know, there needs to be some. There was no. I feel like there's no. Apart from Granit Xhaka, I feel like there should have been someone on the pitch, and even my own guy should have done this, just to say hit it long. But he wasn't. He was just stuck to putting the ball on the ground and playing it out, trying to play it out, and it didn't work because, like you said, man, it will cost us more times. Man City are one of the best pressing teams. They just literally hunt you down, and it happened a few times yesterday. And I just feel like Ramsdale should take the initiative at certain times. Just think, no, fuck it, and we're gonna go long. Because I understand why it's the ethos of keep the ball, because you never know. And you know, when we do these playing out from the back, and then we end up getting a shot off or goal, like it looks good, it looks brilliant, it's absolutely fantastic. But we have to think to ourselves, how many times did that actually happen? How many times do we play out from the back and it ends in a goal or a shot on target? I would say not that many. So you have
how many times don't we concede? That's the other thing, is we've kept possession doing that.
You have to balance the two, yeah.
That's where I say I am all for us playing out from the back. To invite pressure by doing it is literally the point of playing out from the back. It's not to keep possession, it's to invite the pressure, to drag the team out from its defensive line and then knock it through them. And last night we weren't as good as we normally were. But I don't think it was the interchanging of passing that was the problem. It was the decision making that we were making whilst doing that. And that's where I think where there are opportunities to knock it up the line, some players didn't take that. But we're talking 1 or 2 decisions within an entire 90 minutes. I think generally it would have been naive and stupid of us to continue knocking the ball long because we literally don't have any options up there.
No.
If we just hit it long, it goes into Rodri, Diaz, Walker and Ake. They were playing at the back. Eddie Nketiah is not winning a header. Xhaka's not winning the header. Saka's not winning the header. Martinelli's not hitting the header. And then it's gone straight back to Man City, who we know could play through anybody.
I hear what you're saying, but we don't always need to hit it long straight up there. We could have hit it into midfield to Martin Odegaard. We could have hit it into midfield to Granit Xhaka.
But that's the way City had set
Ramsdale,
up.
Ramsdale is very good at hitting those straight balls.
Yeah.
And I feel like he could have done those, and we didn't do those.
You know the player he hits those balls into? It's Thomas Partey.
Yeah,
and he wasn't there. That's the issue, is that we haven't got a player of that skill set he could do that with. I think I'm lucky enough to watch a team that is always play out from the back, irrespective. I've never seen a long ball be played at Brighton at all.
But isn't that? I think that's what I'm getting at. I think you've hit the nail on the head there. The word always. That's the issue I have with it. I'm not saying, you know, we go back to Tony Adams and Martin Kieran and Steve Bold and just Wally. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that there are times and places, and for me last night, the mistake Tomiyasu makes, okay, it can happen to anyone, but it came because he was under pressure with no option to hit, and he underhits a back pass. The mistake that leads to the penalty, which isn't a penalty, again comes because a player is so obsessed with trying to play it 5 yards into midfield rather than getting rid of it when he's literally receiving pressure. That's what causes that. Arguably, even the Grealish goal, it comes from a misplaced pass when it could have gone at least wide or out of the area of the central column of the pitch. I'm not saying that, as I say, I'm not saying we need to go back to 1975 and just welly it into the mud. I'm just saying that sometimes, I've watched Real Madrid do this. I've watched Barcelona do this in their heyday. I've watched some of the greatest teams, even the Invincibles did it at times. There are times and places where you quote unquote hit the lines. I've even seen Man City do this in the past. Well, I think it's under Mancini more, to be fair, probably more of the Italian approach, but where they would actually kick for touch, just because the game is dead. There's a throw in. You can get back into transition. I'm not saying abandon the principles. I love the fact that we're willing to play it out. I love the fact that we're willing to, to entertain, because that is what football is. It's a sport, of course it is, and it's an entertainment, of course it is. But there are times and places at every level, not just Sunday League, where you do need to get it out of that area, or you do need to relieve your defenders, because ultimately your 4 defenders are your least technical, in theory, of your starting 11.
I get that. I think where, rather than knocking it up, the thing that we are missing is switching it. That's where I think the problem is. It's the diagonal. And there was probably not asking Tomiyasu to do it in that position. I think 99 times out of 100, he gets a proper connection with that back pass and it's a non-issue. And it just continues and recycles. But I think there's definitely opportunities that Zinchenko and Gabriel, when they're messing around with it for the Grealish goal, there is an opportunity to just ping that out at some point. It might not be the best pass and you turn over possession, but you turn over, I suppose what we're saying is turning over possession in a better place. But even just knocking it into that midfield, you would hope that someone would start challenging for it. Now, maybe that's because we're missing the aerial presence of Thomas Partey. Again, not a problem about Jorginho, that he's not, unfortunately, 6'2" or whatever, and built to be quite good in an aerial battle. But I think that certainly hindered the team, that they didn't feel like, they felt like they had to make another decision before they processed what they were doing. Every time. They were never quite happy with what was going on in the central midfield, because it wasn't the norm to them, which is obviously the bad side of playing a team constantly having that same starting 11, is when you put one new thing in it, everybody who's used to it suddenly goes, oh, what the fuck? What's this? Who's this guy in there? But I would say it'd be better than having Sambi in there. That's one thing
I do agree with that. And we'll maybe lift the stone, Mark Thomas Partey, in a quiet week, because I feel like that's probably another debate for another day, which we'll deal with. If we look at this as a whole, then again, like I say, my overall feeling after last night was there was a sense of inevitability about it. I'm not going to lie, there just was. I would have taken a draw when we were at 1-1. I'm not going to lie to you. I would have. Weirdly, I still think that we can go up there and beat them in a few weeks. I do. I don't know why, but I feel like we can. We could also just go up there and lose 5-0. You just never know. And I think it's the week they have Champions League as well, which might be a small benefit to us.
It's a midweek. I had a look. I thought it was Champions League, but it's not. It's a Wednesday night.
Oh, okay. Is it between the 2 legs, though, or is it after?
It is between 2 Premier League fixtures. But who knows what might come in and move it. It's probably going to be a rail strike, Carl can tell us.
We just need another Royal to snuff it, and then we can extend the season by. I'm joking before we get cancelled. So my general overall feeling last night was, maybe I'll just ask you to this as a separate question, but where do you feel like 24 hours later? Because I personally feel, and I know it's very easy to say this, but I've stuck by it and I'll continue to stick by it. I wanted to believe, I really did, and I still want to believe, but I can't shake this feeling that we are going to come up short ultimately this season. And last night sort of just told me that yes, we're way ahead of schedule. We've done brilliantly well, but it felt like that, dare I say, pendulum swing. And I feel now that we'll come on to Villa in a second, but we have to snap this down streak quickly. Otherwise, this season has got the feeling of what happened last season about it again, which we have to address pretty quickly. Do you both feel the same way? I'll start with you.
I've never thought we was going to win the title in the first place. Like, I've never thought this, even when we was points and points ahead. And it's just not the pessimist in me. It's just the realist in me. I feel like you said,
the hope that kills.
Yeah, and I just feel like we were ahead of where we are, and we was always going to have a blip. And the problem with Arsenal blips is that they last. Their Arsenal blips never just be a one-game blip. It's always 1, 2, 3 games, and it's the mentality. And I feel like, I don't know why, but something in me says that when we have these blips, Mikel Arteta trains them harder because he doesn't know how to handle these blips. So I think the only way he knows how to do it is more training sessions. Like, I just feel that's what I feel like. Maybe it doesn't happen, but I feel like they're probably doing double sessions or overcompensating, or he's being more micromanaging. Like, when you do this, you got to do this, you got to do this, you got to do this, and making them feel nervous. And until I think he's got to rotate for Villa. Like, we will talk about Villa in a second, but I think he's got to rotate. He can't just keep sticking to what he knows, to this quote unquote first 11. He's got to do something, and because we're in a rut at the moment, and that's what's happening. We're in a rut, and we have to find some way to get out that rut. And once we do, I'm sure we'll be okay. But right now, the way that we are, the way that we're playing is another team last night. If we played against a different team last night, the way we played, especially in that first half, would we have beat them? I would probably say yes, because like I said, we outplayed arguably the best team in the world, quote unquote. You know, we were brilliant against them. Didn't they have something like 34% possession? Like, from when Arsenal can have Man City time wasting from the 25th minute, that just shows you just how good we were yesterday. And that's another thing it pisses me off, this time wasting thing. Just an absolute joke, and the Premier League have got to do something about it. Like,
where did the 6-second goalkeepers out the getting rid of
was
the ball?
Where
did that rule go?
That went.
Well,
was that ever a rule?
It was
it not
for a
rule?
season.
Was it only a season?
And then it went again.
Because what I don't understand, and sorry to sort of go off track again, but what I don't understand with these rules is, because we saw, was it Grealish was booked for dissent last night? You very rarely see this in the modern game. And I've said this for years, all the way back to like grassroots level. If you just book somebody, or worse still, send somebody off, it just stops it. Like, it stops every team doing it. And if we can go all the way back to Chris Kirkland and Henry, all the way back in those days. For dissent, you can go back to players like Rooney, who, you could see him on camera calling the ref F and C and whatever. It only takes a strong referee, and we will touch on referees in a second. But you just say no more. That's it. You bring out a guideline. You say, look, if you are, we're not going to be petulant and time your goal kicks, but if you are noticeably holding up the play, you'll be booked. And if you do it again, you'll be sent off. I don't care if it's, and this is the other thing that cheeses me off. Why is it, Bernardo Silva case last night, why is it that if a player fouls somebody after 3 seconds and it's a bad foul, book them? This bollocks of, oh yeah, but it's early, we don't want to ruin the... No. If you foul somebody, it doesn't matter if they make 2 horrendous fouls in the first 5 minutes. If somebody removes somebody's leg in the first 30 seconds, they get sent off. That's it. Like, this whole, we've got to keep it competitive. No. If a team is consistently shithousing, and once again, we saw it last night, both, to be fair, both Arsenal and Man City at times, surrounding referees, just book every single one of them. It's not hard. Don't do what we did with Lamina last weekend, which was just moronic, by the way. But you know what I mean? It's like, nip it in the bud, and especially with this time wasting, because it's happening more and more and more. We're seeing it at the Emirates a lot, but it's happening more and more at different games I'm watching across the continent, where players just, you can see what they're doing,
Head injuries as well. When
I was just going to say,
touching their head.
That's the new one.
No, that eats up. So everyone does it. Every single team does it. That they know that's going to eat up a minimum of 2 minutes, especially when they're doing that fake, moving their head around, going up and down, and you can tell the physio is just saying, just stay down, just stay down.
My favourite is when they do this. Like with their jaw, and it's like, fuck off, come on. Like, it's such a load of bollocks.
Yeah, you can just tell the physio is just saying, stay down, move your head. Blah, blah, blah. And the referee's coming over and saying, oh, can we get, and the referee can't hurry them up because they need to be sure that this person doesn't have an injury, which we all know they don't, but what can you do?
I enjoyed one last week. I was watching the Birmingham West Brom game, and I think it was West Brom's. I think it's Furlong, the right back, and he went down. So if the post is here, he took quite a heavy tackle from Austin Trusty, ironically, and he hit the deck off the pitch and then rolled back onto the pitch.
We did that yesterday as well.
I didn't see that. I must admit,
Saka did it yesterday. Saka, when he got fouled and went off the pitch, you can see whoever's at right, I think it's Odegaard, just shouts at him, "Get back on the fucking pitch before you go down." And we saw it again from Ramsdale as well.
Yeah.
Do you think Ramsdale really had a sore heel?
No.
When we had a dangerous throw in, they wanted to take quickly.
Breaking up momentum, isn't it?
It's breaking up momentum. We were both at it. And someone's got to come in and stamp it out. But as I say, you probably want to know how I feel after the game.
Yeah, well, give us this Josh optimism. So you're still confident that we're winning the league.
I would say I am not doom and gloom. I am apathetic about it. That's what I really kind of see, is that I'm not that concerned. Yeah, we lost. We're still in a pretty strong position. We're by no means out of the title race that it sounds like some people have gone to. I mean, I hope they've put netting up around Putney Bridge, because there's some people who I think would just be there, were there last night.
Not one of them,
based on the result. No, it's too far for you to travel.
Yeah, exactly.
They put some rigging below the plank, though.
They did.
But it was. I'm not at that level. I don't think it's all doom and gloom. It's certainly not out of the title race. As you say, Kris, City might go on a run of 4 or 5 games and they'll win 5 games in a row. But I could still see them dropping points towards the end of the season. They've by no means got an easy run. They've still got to play everyone else in the top 4. I'm pretty sure they've got to go away to Brighton as well. That's still to come up. We got Brighton at home, which you've shown can be a dangerous fixture. Brighton away is obviously a little bit easier. There's definitely some options that I can see. It's not so. Yeah, it's not the end of our season by any means. When I came into the season, I was happy for us to be challenged at top 4. We need to get top 4 sewn up as soon as possible. If it results in us having a title race, then that is a bonus. To be honest, I'm still going to sit on the other side of which trophy would I rather have this season, and it's Europa League. I would rather we won the Europa League. Happy for us to be in the title race, obviously. And if we're in the position where we could be winning the league, I think we still need to be putting eggs into the Europa League, because one, Arsenal Football Club, put it bluntly, of a club of our size, we've got a shit European record. And it would be good to get a European trophy. Secondly, if we don't win the title and we finish second, we don't get that nice Europa League group. Champions League group. Finish second. We're in pot 2 at that point. If we win the Europa League, we go into pot 1. And you want to have a look at the draw that pot 1 Europa League winners got this Champions League. It was Frankfurt, and they got Spurs, Sporting Lisbon, and Marseille. Much prefer that than the team that finished second in the league last year, who ended up with what did Liverpool end up with? Was it Bayern Munich? They ended up with some horrific group, didn't they?
Milan, was it Milan? I think it was Milan, wasn't it? Yeah.
Milan. No, it was Napoli.
Napoli, that's right. That's right. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. Napoli ripped the new one.
And you know that we're getting the winner of Barcelona and Man United, don't you? You just know that that's what we're going to get. You know it's coming, don't you? You know that's what we're going to get.
I'll take it. I think we've shown both those teams I think Man United would be the more difficult one, put it that way.
Yeah, I agree. I'd rather play Barcelona, the way they defended tonight anyway.
Yeah, I think we've still got to do it anyway. Still got to go through and beat the teams that put in front of us, but I trust us over 2 legs against Man United as well. I think it's just an opportunity for us to really go far in the Europa League, and I don't want us to throw that away as well. So I'm still positive. We're still in two win runs for a trophy, and I think that's all we'd really ask for in February, irrespective of which trophies they were. I think we'd still want to be in the hunt for 2. by the end of the season.
And we should say, like, you know, as I said, at this point, like, all jokes aside, you know, it might have taken a negative undertone today, but I think any of our loyal listeners who, by the way, if you're watching, hit subscribe, flick the bell, give us a like. Thank you very much. And if you're not, do it anyway. I think people would think we were a bit weird if we came on tonight and went, so we lost to Man City. Woo! Like, you know, like you're gonna feel a bit down. And I know a few people like questioned my tweet last night and said, well, why we weren't that bad? And I genuinely thought we were. I really did. And I think sometimes we can go a bit too far one direction to the other. We can be, you know, massively over the top about how good we are, and we can be massively negative as well. And I think we just need to be a bit level-headed, a bit stable. And the one thing that those who get to games every week, you know, keep doing what you're doing. Like, let's keep getting behind the team where we concede or whatever. There has been some nervous energy in these past few weeks, but the crowd have stayed with us, and we need that to be the case. And I know the manager keeps mentioning it. I know the social media team are quite hot on how good the crowd are, and these videos they're putting out stuff. You know, I'm all for it. Let's keep that positivity. But the facts are the facts. We are playing a team who allegedly have corrupted this league for the longest time, and to overcome that is going to be very, very difficult. And if we don't, you know, we go again next season. But we've got a lot to fight for this season, and there's a long time to go. Before we talk about Villa, which we will do, Carl, you wanted to have a moment just to address the VAR stuff. I'll just let you talk here, because I personally feel like the decision was a fucking joke. Like, let's be honest, this is the Brentford decision, of course, but it speaks to a wider thing, doesn't it, of how an apology, as Mikel Arteta put it, is not going to get us the 2 points that we have to say probably, because we still could have conceded. You know, let's not say we'd won that game, but that apology means fuck all, does it, if somebody can't do their job properly? And I think if you didn't do your job properly tomorrow, you'd probably be you know, under scrutiny more than the PGMOL have been under scrutiny this week.
Yeah, I'm not going to go deep into this because I think everyone's had their say and everyone's done what they've done. But I just think that people make mistakes, and it is what it is. Do you know what? Everyone makes mistakes. You know, footballers make mistakes and cost, you know, games and things like that. So I don't want to go too hard, but it's game after. It feels like game after game, and I understand that it happens to every team. Arsenal are not exclusive to referees fucking up against them. It's not an Arsenal thing. It is, and every team can go through games and look at a thread and say, this happened to us this game and this game and this game and this game. We obviously talk about Arsenal because we support Arsenal and we feel it loyal to us. And I just feel like there's so many, you know, you can look at, or just remember so many occasions where it's fucked us. You know, I just remember Callum Chambers, I think it was against Crystal Palace, where he should have scored, and they ruled it out to say Callum Chambers got kicked, and they said that Callum Chambers kicked the player and we didn't get the goal. And it's just that, and you can think of Louise against Wolves, where they said that he tripped him up deliberately when he's running and he makes no movement to trip him up. Like, there's just the occasions, Granit Xhaka being sent off for the reasons. Odegaard against Man City 2 seasons ago, where last season where we should have beat them, we've got a penalty. Just like, when does it end? And VAR was brought in to help referees. And like Mikel said, this is literally your job as a VAR referee, is literally to draw the lines to see if it's offside or not. And you don't do that. And he's not the only one in the room. There are other people in the room. So no one in that room said, oh, by the way, Lee Mason, you haven't drawn the lines. Nobody did that. See, one person forgets to do it, human error. If 2 people forget to do it, and I'm not going to... I said it's either corruption or incompetence. And I think there is no in between there. I really don't. Because these errors are just getting silly now. And it's not going to be the last error that Arsenal have this season. I assure you, it will not be the last error that it has, and it will not be the last error that any other team in the Premier League will have. Every team will have an issue with VAR this season. It's just not going to end. So us moaning about it is what it is. But we're not going to get those 2 points back from Brentford that we potentially should have got. I just feel like the referees, people say that referees get a hard time. I don't. They are professional referees. This is their full-time job. Their full-time job is to referee football games. And the fact that they get it wrong so often, something's got to happen. And Howard was meant to come in and be revolutionary and look at it. I think it's good that he came out straight away and said, yep, we made a mistake. We're sorry. That is good, because back in the day, that would never have happened. It would have been hush, closed. And no one would have been none the wiser. Yeah, so I get that. But an apology doesn't get back your 3 points. So, yeah, that's the only thing I want to say about it.
Yeah. I would add that just Carl, you were saying that you don't think referees are harshly treated. I would say that is correct for all of the ones that are full-time professional referees. The people that are at the grassroots level.
Oh yeah,
they're literally dealing with the same shit that you're dealing with in terms of the conditions and the dressing rooms and all of that stuff. You're all down at that level. You're all of a standard. Obviously, a referee's got to start somewhere. Again, kids start in non-league and eventually make Premier League. At some point, you're going to have to do your time down in a poorer league where you're not going to have all of the technology that you see on the screen. So I think there's definitely a issue down at grassroots, and maybe it's only white guys from Manchester, that also Greater Manchester, that can get through that. They can get through that difficulty and really make it to the elite level. And occasionally you'll see one from Bristol that will slide through, and the occasional guy from Northumberland. So I think there's a couple there as well. But yeah, Carl, is there a problem with London? Are you all too weak-willed to really
I don't know.
It maybe that level?
Maybe because London's too multicultural. Like, I think in a country of 66 million people in this country, and of those 66 million, let's just say that 20 million like football. And of those 10 million, let's just say 1% of that 10 million people want to become referees. And of that 1% of people who want to become referees, not one of them is non-white. Now, I'm not making this a black and white thing, because it is what it is, and I don't believe that Premier League really care about diversity. But it stands to say that the Premier League is made up of people that play football from all around the world. All around the world. You know, you got South Americans, you got Europeans, you got Africans, you got Asian people playing the game of football, which we all love. Everyone's got their favorite player, and I can't believe that every single referee is between 35 and 50, all white, all from the north. At a certain time, someone's got to look at that and think something is wrong there. Something is not right. You know, I think the last black referee we spoke about this a while ago, was Uriah Rennie.
Yeah.
And that was like 25 years ago.
He posed for modelling pictures, didn't he, and stuff. He fancied himself a bit, didn't he?
Yeah, that's shocking that how long ago it was. And since then, there hasn't been not even one non-white referee, and every single other, and one female, Sean Massey. Like, there's only been one female. And at a certain time, you have to look at it and think to yourself, what is happening? What are they doing to, like you said about grassroots people coming through, what are they doing to encourage people from ethnic backgrounds to become a referee? What are they doing to encourage more women to referee in the men's game? It's just a very weird situation.
And it's so bad at grassroots level now that they're actually trialing referees with body cams because of the abuse that they're getting, which is absolutely mental. I mean, I've witnessed it firsthand when I was managing at grassroots level. Some of the abuse they take, and don't get me wrong, I've thrown a bit of abuse out, verbal abuse, I might add. and in the heat of the moment, you do say things you regret. But I have seen players put hands on referees. I've seen players chase referees out of car parks. One of the ones I vividly remember was a referee coming into a pub like an hour after a game had finished, where the two teams were, and one of I think it was a striker of the opposition. It wasn't a game I was playing in, I should add. And he literally chased the referee out of the pub. He's like, "You're not fucking drinking here, you scumbag." It's just like, you're not embarrassed at how you like look at the state of you treating people like that. But yeah, I do think there is a problem with it. And the only other thing I've noticed recently as well, and I'm in no shape to talk, I'm just going to put that out there, but these referees that referee in the Premier League, correct me if I'm wrong, they are all full-time on a salary, right? So this is their one and only job.
They have their own elite sports fitness as well. But
yeah,
the point I think you're going to get onto, Chris, is they all look like they're still enjoying lockdown.
Yes, yes. That's exactly where I'm going with this, because Michael Oliver has always been in fairly decent shape, and I seem to remember, was it Clattenburg, the one who's retired now? I think he was always in fairly good nick.
Oh, the one that got chased out of Saudi Arabia.
That's the one, yeah. And Howard Webb himself, he was an ex-couple, wasn't he? So he was in good shape. But there's a few that you look at and you go, fucking hell, there's a bit of timber. And you do notice, like, all the Premier League players, they've all got these sort of shirts now that cling to them. And there's a clear svelte look to all of them. And I just think, like, if this is your job, if I was a gym instructor, I wouldn't have a little bit of extra around the tummy. Do you know what I mean? So I don't get it.
Yeah, I'd have to say the fittest looking referee in terms of a purely on a athletic rather than aesthetic point of view would have to be Kieran Trippier. If anybody's watched a Newcastle game recently,
yes,
especially when David Coote, there's the other one as well. Jared, what's his face? That's the other
Jared Gillett, the Australian.
They're all they're all just wet lettuce, aren't they? Fucking hell. That's one of the issues as well, is that not only are the ones that aren't from Greater Manchester, there's not got many from Greater Manchester, is the ones that aren't from there are just, they've got no backbone. They've got nothing to them. They will get played through a game quite easily. And in theory, you've got an independent adjudicator in their ear. I think that's the point of VAR, isn't it? Just go, hang on, mate.
You've made
Trippier's telling you porkies. Tell him to fuck off.
Yeah.
Tell him to go back onto goes back to the right back. It's
and even
really
linesmen, if we're allowed to call them that anymore, I don't know in this woke world we live in. But the amount of times where you'll see, like, a linesman give a flag the wrong way, and you'll see it like on the Sky coverage, and they do this thing where they look stoically into the distance and they refuse to make eye contact with the player. They're just staring, and the players in their face go, "You fucking this, you fucking that." I'd be like, I would literally be like, "Sorry, what? I've given the throw in. Now fuck off." I wouldn't have any of it. It does make me laugh. But anyway, let's go on to Villa, because I don't want to do this to death, because we have got some questions that I want to get to as well. So just a brief couple of minutes from you both. My personal feeling is this is the worst possible game to be going into. We're going away from home to an Unai Emery team that is pretty much on the up, certainly is where their season is going. It's a 12:30 on a Saturday, which screams pain. What we basically need to do is go and do what we did against Villa. Was it a lunchtime kickoff when we won there last season? I think it was.
Might be. Last lunchtime kickoff we had was Everton.
I mean, last season when we went to Villa.
Oh, sorry.
We won 1-0, didn't we? Was it an own goal or something? I think it was a really scrappy.
I think the difference
game.
was, though, they had a PE teacher in charge.
Well, that did help. But for all the somewhat xenophobic abuse that Emery took, which I shouldn't laugh at, it was a bit disrespectful. But he's a very good manager. I think any Arsenal fan, even if they didn't warm to him, would admit he's a very tactically astute manager. And he will know all about Mikel Arteta, funnily enough, because the two of them know each other very well. Let's start with you then, Josh. A couple of minutes. Like, what do you foresee? And here's the question: first goal. We have to get the first goal in a game, don't we?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm expecting a fast start from us. I don't think we've really seen it properly from when we've got games against teams that, should we say, are more defensively minded, shall we say. I think we've really got to go at them hard. And as I think it was Danny was putting the stats in there, we've got 1 goal from open play in our last 4. So
games,
it's a stat we really need to sort out. Yeah, perhaps there is an opportunity for a little bit of rotation, but I do also trust that starting 11. It is a good enough starting 11 to be beating Villa. We've also then got a week's rest as well between fixtures. So again, completely anticipate that Arteta will maintain that there's enough time for this side to recover. So Eddie will probably start. I still would be surprised if Trossard started. Same goes for Fabio Vieira as well. I think there's so much trust in this side. It's almost certainly just going to be the same starting 11. Maybe Ben White comes in for Tomiyasu. I think there was obviously a tactical reason why Tomiyasu started, not necessarily down to form. I don't think we need to be worried too much about an aerial presence on the flank that we needed to be for City. So yeah, what I do think will happen though, if we're on our game, we could blow this Villa side away. I don't think they are. How can I put it? If we get the first goal and they have to come and attack us, that'll be it. Same as the Everton game almost. If we score first, gaps start appearing and we pick up that side. It's exactly the same for Villa. You saw, if you did watch City game, when they played them, as Kris mentioned, picked them apart in the first half and then in theory almost cruised to victory. I think we can do something similar, but I'd expect us to actually continue playing for longer than 45 minutes. So yeah, I think I still think there's going to be a positive result here. It might be tricky. It might fundamentally end up being ugly, but I think that's all we need right now. It doesn't matter how it comes, but I think there is an opportunity here to really make a statement win.
Agreed. Carl, 4-4-2, get it launched to the big man, win 1-0 away. Is that what you're looking for?
Who's going to play up front with Eddie? 4-4-2.
Well, we're bringing back Yaya Sanogo, like I say, who's actually just signed for a club in Armenia. I think I might be saying.
Yeah.
So yeah, yeah.
What do you think? As dirty as I feel saying this, I agree with Josh. I think we will largely see the same team again. Ben White comes in for Tomiyasu. If they were to make another change, maybe Zinchenko comes in for Tierney. Does his game sort of suit Kieran Tierney? Who knows? I'm not too sure, but I think Josh is right. I think we will 100% largely see exactly the same team that we saw against Man City, barring one change. I don't see him changing it quickly. I think we do need to score the first goal, and I think gaps start opening up. If we can get a 1-2-0 lead, even at half time, then that gives you a chance to take off Granit Xhaka in the 60th minute mark, bring on Fabio Vieira. I don't envisage Thomas Partey being back because they said he's got some sort of muscular injury, and I think the turnaround, if he didn't make Man City on a Wednesday, I don't think he's going to make Villa away on a Saturday.
No,
definitely not. Maybe, just maybe, Smith Rowe might come in to be a sub because I know he was close. Maybe Reece Nelson as well comes in to be a sub.
Yeah, he was back on the bench last night, wasn't he, Nelson? I think.
Yeah,
so
he was.
Yeah, so there you go. He may get a couple of minutes for Saka on the right because again, Saka can't play every single game. For every single minute, he just can't. So hopefully that happens. But yeah, I don't see any major changes against Aston Villa. I would like to see some changes, but I just don't see it happening.
Okay, I agree with you both. I think first goal is key. I think let's not forget we have to deal with the artist formerly known as Emi Martinez as well. So that'll be fun for us all. And we'll also have to deal with Tyrone Mings kicking 3 bells of shit out of every single of our players and pleading ignorance at every opportunity.
He's so shit.
He's so bad, isn't he? How that guy made him.
Which player are you talking about? Our former goalkeeper or Tyrone Mings? I just want to be absolutely exactly.
To be fair, Martinez is a good keeper. He's just a massive shithouse. But
is he a good keeper? Really?
I think he is.
He was for us.
Yeah, he was for us.
I can't say.
I mean,
he's in a good
he's made a few errors, but then what goalkeeper hasn't? Let's be honest.
No, he's made quite a few errors for Arsenal as well. I think as well. That's just my personal opinion. Should have saved that Mopé goal anyway. Still haven't forgiven him for that.
Can't forgive Mopé.
Shit. Oh no, I'm talking about Martinez.
Oh yeah, no, I know. I'm just saying can't forgive Mopé in general. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, I agree with you guys. He did. I will not be going overs for this particular game for goals. I think it will be a hard 4. I have a horrible feeling this is going to be a scrappy 1-1 type of result, which concerns me. But I hope I'm wrong. That's just the pessimist coming out of me. And I think the tactical battle will be interesting because I actually think Villa will change formation for this game. I have a feeling Unai will bring out
on us.
Yeah, I think he's going to bring out the 3 centre halves, 2 wing backs against us. I have a feeling that's what he's going to pull. Yeah. So hopefully we combat that. And slightly against the grain, against you guys, I do think we'll see Trossard in this game. I feel like there's enough clamour to give Martinelli a bit of a breather. And I think he's the logical change. And I also think Ben White will come back in for Tomiyasu as well. That's probably the 2 changes I would suspect. But we shall see. Right. We are pushing an hour and a half now, so we'll finish with a couple of quick questions. I don't know which one of the 2 of you are doing questions, but if we have any, go for gold.
I don't know.
I will. So I did star some, so I will do some. If you've got any questions, people put them in the chat, and we shall read them. Right.
Oh, there is one from Cairo Boy, wasn't there? Cairo Boy. You can probably answer that better than us, Carl. Has the atmosphere gone down since silver members were allocated less tickets?
Buying tickets at the moment, and I really should have got Femi on there, shouldn't I? But we'll get him on next show. Anyone who's tried to buy Arsenal tickets will know how hard it is to buy Arsenal tickets at the moment. It's near enough impossible. I think the Leeds tickets went on sale yesterday or the day before. And the website went down. So I went on there to try and get Leeds tickets. I logged onto the website. They get released at 10 o'clock. I went on the website at, I think it must have been 25 past 9. And straight away you're in a queue. And that's when you know there are thousands of people on the website. So, okay, it's what it is. It gives you expected time. You will be on the site at blah, blah, blah. And I expected to be on the site at 9:55, I think it said. So it is what it is. I had it on in the background while I was at work. Blah, blah, blah. I kind of forgot. And I think it got to like 1 minute past 10. And that's when I looked up and I was like, oh, shit. So I clicked back on the tab and it kicked me out. It totally kicked me out. But then I thought, fucking hell. So I literally thought, I'm not even going to bother to try and get back onto the website because it's not going to work. Went onto Twitter, as you do, and it happened to everyone. It kicked almost everyone off. Only a very small amount of people got onto it. The demand for Arsenal tickets is really high at the moment, which I get. And then what pisses me off is that, like everything, like when they do, if people are into trainers, when they have trainer releases, a lot of bots get them. So you see straight away I went on to soccer tickets, I can't remember what website it is, and you had Arsenal versus Leeds tickets on there for £500. Now, as much as I love Arsenal, and this is not even in a box, this is like your box standard seat. I'm not paying £500 to watch Arsenal unless flipping I get to sit down with the first team 11 after dinner and invite them all on this podcast and we all have a chat. That's the only time I'm paying £500 to watch Arsenal. So it's at the moment everybody's having trouble getting tickets, and it's a good and a bad thing because obviously at the same time, I don't know if on the cameras you saw it yesterday, Emirates looked absolutely heaving yesterday, looked packed, and that's what you want to see. Every single game you want to see absolutely rammed out, but at the same time against Brentford you couldn't get a ticket for love nor money, but at the same time the Emirates wasn't packed against Brentford. It was relatively empty. Not empty, but not as full as it should have been.
Spaces.
So for me, Arsenal are not doing enough in the slightest about these bots. Like when they go onto these websites and they see these tickets for £500, they should contact that website and say, who has got that ticket? Who has put it on there? Give us their details so we can contact them and take their ticket away. Take away the season ticket. Take away that ticket. Take away their membership. And it wouldn't be hard to do. I know maybe there's a freedom of information, privacy. Maybe the website can't give it away, but surely there must be. If Arsenal say this ticket should not be resold, then that surely gets rid of that issue. So,
or even if there's,
do you think it's much harder for silver members who, especially ones who are very vocal about refusing to go to the Emirates whilst certain managers were in charge, even actually since the move, and now suddenly want to go to the Emirates now that Arsenal are playing well? Do you think it's even more particularly hard for those particular fans to get tickets, resulting in them being even more vocal than before about a subject that previously they didn't really care about? I'm just asking for those. I'm not mentioning any names.
Do you know what? It's just hard. It's just hard to get tickets in general. It's annoying as well because you got these people who want to go and can't go, but all of a sudden, like you said, these people that are popping up who didn't want to go, and all of a sudden, I'm going to go because Arsenal winning now. These fair weather fans, like, it's just annoying. And you know, someone like me, I think on the season ticket waiting list, maybe 3,000, 2,000. I'm something like that. I've been on the season ticket waiting list for the best part of 15, 16 years. So that's how long it's taken me.
How have you not been offered? I was offered in the COVID season.
No, I wasn't.
Post-COVID, I was offered a season ticket. And
I'm calling
livid.
I'm calling racism right there.
Maybe. I was
livid.
You
took it and bloody sold it. Or
you know why? I just agreed to a Brighton season ticket because I didn't think I was getting an Arsenal one. If I'd known Arsenal was coming through, I'd have taken it. But yeah,
you're a white under middle-aged man, Josh. If you lived in Manchester, they would pay you to go to games by now.
I did.
That's how it works.
That was the irony. I was living in Manchester at the time.
That's why they offered it to you. You'll be a referee by next year.
Yeah, maybe.
But yeah, I know they've changed the season ticket, and hopefully Femi will come on next week and explain it, because I think the season ticket has gone up, but you get more games for your money. And I think Arsenal want more money up front for the season ticket.
Yeah.
So
if we lose to Villa, we'll do a ticket special and just not mention the game at all. I think that's the way forward.
We'll try and get everybody on who didn't get a ticket, which will be a lot of people, or maybe we'll only get people who did get tickets.
The only good thing is it takes away my temptation to go up to games because for me it's like costs of travelling up there, staying over, and potentially waking up with a drunk Jason in the same room. So I mean, there are wins to this situation. God bless him. I'm going to shoot through these questions because there's a lot of ones in the chat. I'm just going to shoot them across to you guys because some of them they're all very quick fire. So just give me very short answers. Boy Tendio, Josh, if we lose to Villa, what is level-headed take then? Or what is a level-headed take then? I don't think there is one, is there? Go full nuclear.
We're still level on points. I don't know. We've still got our game in hand, though, haven't we? But I mean,
Everton at home is.
I mean, let's put it this way. I'm still expecting City to drop points. This isn't City are not going to go and run a perfect season after this. If you think that, you've barely been watching the football at all.
It's not City dropping points that we need to worry about. It's us dropping points. That's the bit I'm worried about. I agree with you.
True. We're not hitting a perfect season either, but that's the entire point of my argument. Is neither side is winning every game up until the rest of the season. It's just not going to happen. City have got quite a nice Champions League draw, so they'll be going far in that competition. And we know what happens when Pep's got his eye on something else. And that's the real trophy they want.
And when we inevitably lose to Barcelona in the next round of the Europa League, we'll have a freer schedule. So that's always a bonus as well. Okay, Carl, let me just skip the stupid ones from Danny. Martinelli at centre forward. Yay or nay for you? Would you give it a go?
I think Eddie does need a rest. So yes, I would. Like, it would be ideal to start Eddie, play and start Trossard, and then if it doesn't work, then bring on Martinelli at centre forward, because Eddie's looking jaded, and like you said, there's no pressure on him. He knows he could play a absolutely shit game, and he's going to start the next game because there's no one else behind him.
Yeah. Agreed. And also, I saw somebody go through the chat earlier on. I can't remember who it was, but someone was saying that Gabriel Jesus is due back in early March. Yeah, he might be due back in terms of being fit, but I don't think we're going to see
training.
Yeah, exactly. I don't think he's at least 5 to 6 weeks away from being fully match ready, and then he's going to have to take time to reintegrate. And yeah, I think let's look at next season for him. I'll take the next question because it's on the same lines of from G. Bergkamp. Would you terminate Balogun's loan to get Eddie some backup? Absolutely not. Nope. You leave Balogun where he is. He continues to shred Liga, get his value up, sell him in the summer. Happy days. I know that really winds people up when I say that, so cry more. Rudy asked the same question, actually. So there we go, Rudy. Asked that one. Josh, Mr. Waffles, do Arteta's tactics need to be more flexible? I know where I stand on that one.
Do his tactics need to be more flexible? No, the personnel do. No, the personnel need to be. That's my option. That's my thoughts anyway. If we're going short,
that's fair enough. Yeah. I can see where you're coming from there. I think that's it, actually. Yeah, I think that is it. So yes, that is it. We've rattled through those. Good stuff. Thank you. Right. So, as I say, if you are watching live and you haven't yet fiddled with our bell and tickled our balls or whatever it is that you have to say, if you could do that, that'd be great. So click subscribe and give us a like or a thumbs up or whatever various platform you're listening to us on or watching us. We appreciate it. We were looking at some stats earlier on, and another very high profile podcast makes like £400,000 a month. So it's about time you started giving us some money, you freeloading scumbags. I'm joking, of course, but they do a fabulous job. But yeah, all jokes aside, if you can get us up the old algorithm, that'd be fabulous. Thank you.
Here's a quick question as well. If we were earning at a minimum $500,000 a year doing a podcast, how arrogant would you be?
Oh, massively.
More or less.
I'd be an absolute cunt. I'd be full. I would be the biggest cunt you've ever met. And I'll tell you what else I'd be as well, Josh. I'd be available 6 to 7 days a week to do a podcast at any time of day.
Yeah,
I would. But unfortunately,
you say that now.
Yeah.
Well,
but
if it was your actual job, I mean, but unfortunately, like you, Carl, and you,
but you don't have to do your job properly. You know, if referees don't have to do their job, then why should you?
That's true. In fact, it's like
I mean, I've been looking at the tube lines at the moment, Carl, and I can really tell you're on full referee workload.
You know what we need to do. You know what we need to do. I don't know if either of you two watched The Apprentice, but we couldn't do any worse than the fuckwits they've got on that show this year. So I just think we just put in a business plan to Sugar and say, look, we're massive Spurs fans. We've got a great idea, and then we sabotage the whole show, fuck them up in the process, and get $250,000. Happy days.
And liquidate Spurs. That was our plan all along.
Down the toilet bowl.
I can make you some massive... I've got some great real estate. You can turn it into a beautiful car park and retail site. Yeah, prime location, just on the edge of London. You'll love it.
Or scrapyard. It'd be fantastic. Yeah. Good stuff. Just before we go, and I genuinely don't want to bring the mood down because I feel like we've done that badly enough. That's terrible grammar. We've done that in a pretty bad way as it is. But something that it's really kind of captured me a little bit this week. In this country, and indeed, I'm sure other countries all around the world, every single day of the week, people go missing. And there are various reasons behind that, and there are various circumstances behind that. And I'm sure everyone watching this will be quite familiar with the case that's going on in the UK at the moment. the Nicola Bully case, and obviously, we wish everybody that's having or involved in any way, shape, or form has been affected by that, and we still maintain the hope that she does come back safe and sound. But I did think that it wouldn't be a bad idea just to mention that if you are aware of people that go missing, or you want to reach out to somebody, or whatever the circumstances are, excluding podcast members, Danny, thank you very much. Please do reach out to these free phone lines and whatnot, because it's genuinely heartbreaking when you see families torn apart for no apparent reason. And us, we like to have a laugh and a giggle, and we're all good mates on here, and we like to keep it fun and friendly. But there are real life situations out there that are pretty bloody heartbreaking, and I think it's fair to say the way the police have handled it up there with this case in particular has been nothing short of a fucking shambles. So if you do have any information, or if you know somebody that you just haven't seen for a while, or you're concerned about, get in touch with them. And for those who don't know, there is a missing persons helpline, which you can ring 116 000 if you get any information on anybody who has been missing. So I just wanted to raise that because it's really captured my heart, I think it's fair to say, this week, and I think it's worth highlighting. So all the best to that family, and hopefully there is a happy outcome, although sadly it doesn't feel like it's going to be. But that being said, we'll take it back to a highbrow. Let's hope we get the result against Villa on Sunday, because I think we're all pretty fed up with down spell of the month of February so far and back into January. So let's get back on the happy train. Hopefully Unai can have one of his moments and let us have a nice, easy win on Sunday. We'll be back. I think we'll do a preview show. Do either of you know if Danny's arranging that? I don't know.
No, he's a fucking idiot. He doesn't know what he's doing.
He doesn't know. He doesn't have a clue. We'll do a preview show.
Sunday. Just say Sunday.
Oh, sorry, Saturday. It's Saturday lunchtime. Sorry, I don't know what fucking day of the week it is, to be honest. Saturday lunchtime, 12:30. We're on BT, so that's great because we all know their commentary is fantastic.
I will promise this time that I won't watch the first half of the game before leaving to go to another game, because I did that last time we lost to Everton.
Yeah, if you could not do that, that would be good, Josh. Yeah, that would be really good. And also, if you're watching Rio, if you just view on how we play football stuff, you fuckwit. Thank you very much. Right. So, Carl, thank you very much. Good journeys to you tomorrow. Keep that London Underground ticking over, good sir.
Good evening.
You had to, didn't you? You just had to. And a Josh masterclass as always. Thank you, Josh.
It's been an absolute pleasure. I've been all backed up after not podcasting last week, so I'm happy to have released all my podcast energy on this here show.
My mind has gone to places I don't really want it to go to for any prolonged period of time, so I'm going to leave that there. Thank you to all of you who have watched live in the chat. We appreciate you as always. Look after yourselves and each other. Keep it Arsenal. Let's hope for 3 points on Saturday, not Sunday. And we shall speak to you very soon. Good night.
#fuck Ellis.
Thank you.
As soon as I scored that goal, I was fucking livid. Get down, dog. Splendid business.
He nearly caught the bloody thing. What are you talking about?
So I was just eating a full quiche. Well, you don't often see them at Ibs, so when you see them in the supermarket, they need to be swagged, microwaved immediately, and get the brown sauce on and bosh, Bob's your uncle.
Never in doubt.